Like the video, subscribe now, and leave a comment if you think you could survive a place like this, because what you're about to hear isn't a movie, it's real life behind concrete walls. Life inside San Quentin. One mistake gets you killed. The alarm tore through San Quentin just before dawn, a harsh metallic scream that froze every man in his cell. Guards flooded the tier, boots pounding concrete, hands already on batons. In the corner of a dimly lit cell, an inmate lay motionless on the floor, eyes open, chest still. No blood. No visible wounds. Just silence. In a prison like San Quentin, silence after an alarm is never a good sign. By sunrise, the block was locked down. No movement. No talking. The kind of quiet that feels heavier than noise. Word spread the only way it ever does in prison, through glances, gestures, and whispers pushed through vents. Someone had made a mistake. And in San Quentin, mistakes don't come with second chances. The dead man was Marcus Hale, a mid-level inmate with connections on both sides of the yard. Not a leader, not a nobody. Exactly the kind of person who survives by knowing the rules. Which begged the question everyone was afraid to ask. What rule did he break? Investigators from outside the prison arrived before noon, their badges meaningless inside these walls. Here, power belonged to the gangs, the shot callers, and the guards who kept balance by knowing when to look away. Hale's cell showed no signs of struggle. His bunk was made. His property untouched. It looked staged. Clean. Intentional. The first theory was obvious, gang retaliation. But Hale wasn't in debt. He hadn't crossed racial lines. He wasn't marked for removal. According to confidential informants, Hale had been nervous the night before, pacing during count, asking questions he shouldn't have been asking. Questions about a guard. Questions about a transfer list. Questions about something that wasn't meant to be discussed. As detectives pulled surveillance footage, one detail stood out. At 2:17 a.m., during a routine check, the camera outside Hale's cell glitched. Just 7 seconds of missing footage. Not long enough to trigger alarms. Long enough to change a life. When they finally reviewed Hale's last recorded phone call, his voice was calm, but his words weren't. "If I don't make it out of here," he said quietly, "it wasn't an inmate who did it." And when investigators opened the sealed incident report from 3 years earlier, an internal document no inmate should have known existed, they realized Marcus Hale hadn't made a mistake. He had learned the truth. San Quentin stayed on lockdown, but tension kept leaking through the walls. Meals were slid through slots. Showers were cancelled. Every inmate understood what this meant. The prison was searching for answers, and someone was lying. Detectives started where Hale's final warning pointed them, inside the system itself. The sealed report he'd referenced detailed a violent incident from 3 years earlier, officially ruled an inmate-on-inmate assault. But the paperwork didn't match the injuries. Witness statements contradicted timelines. And one name appeared repeatedly in redacted sections: Correctional Officer Daniel Rourke. Rourke was a veteran guard, respected, feared, and known for running one of the strictest tiers in the facility. He understood San Quentin's unspoken rules better than most inmates. According to records, Rourke had been on duty the night of the original incident, and the night Marcus Hale died. Meanwhile, the yard was boiling. Hale's connections made his death impossible to ignore. His associates demanded answers, suspecting a setup. Rumors spread fast. Hale had been poisoned. Hale had been suffocated during count. Hale had been silenced because he talked. Each version made the situation more dangerous. When stories multiply in prison, violence follows. Investigators pulled Hale's movements from the past month. He'd been transferred twice without request. He'd lost a prison job that gave him access to paperwork. Then, suddenly, he'd been reassigned to a cell near the tier's blind spot. None of it was random. A break came from an inmate informant known only as Lewis, a man serving life who survived by trading information. Lewis claimed Hale had discovered a pattern: disciplinary write-ups that disappeared, inmates transferred just before filing complaints, and a guard who always seemed present when things went wrong. Hale believed Rourke was running a quiet operation: intimidation, staged violence, and selective silence to keep control. Before Lewis could give a full statement, he was pulled from his cell for questioning. He never made it to the interview room. A sudden medical emergency sent him to the infirmary, unconscious and unable to speak. The message was clear. Someone was watching. Then another problem surfaced. The missing 7 seconds of surveillance footage weren't lost due to a glitch. They'd been manually overwritten. That required clearance only a handful of staff possessed. Late that night, as detectives prepared warrants, a fight broke out in a different block. 2 inmates stabbed. 1 dead. The chaos forced guards to respond, pulling attention away from administration offices. When calm finally returned, investigators rushed to secure Rourke's personnel locker. It was empty, and at the bottom of Hale's confiscated property box, missed during the initial search, they found a folded note, written in pencil. If they lock the doors early tonight, it read, "It's already too late." The note changed everything. Investigators realized Hale hadn't just uncovered corruption, he had anticipated retaliation. The lockdowns, the transfers, the tightened counts weren't responses to violence. They were preparation. San Quentin shifted into damage control mode. Administration denied any internal wrongdoing, but behind closed doors, pressure mounted. Media inquiries started circling. Families of inmates demanded answers. And inside the walls, the balance that kept men alive was slipping. Officer Daniel Rourke officially failed to report for duty the morning after Hale's death. His apartment was searched that afternoon. The place was spotless. Too spotless. No uniforms. No electronics. No personal files. It was as if he'd erased himself. But hidden behind a loose panel in the bathroom wall, investigators found a burner phone and a handwritten ledger. The ledger listed inmate names, dates, and outcomes. Transfers. Solitary placements. Incidents. One name appeared more than once, Marcus Hale. Next to it, written darker and harder than the rest, was a single word, risk. Back inside the prison, fear spread faster than facts. Hale's former associates believed someone on staff had crossed a line no guard was supposed to cross. Retaliation was expected. Every count became dangerous. Every door opening felt like a gamble. Guards were attacked. Inmates refused orders. San Quentin was edging toward something it hadn't seen in years, a full-scale collapse of control. Detectives finally located Rourke's vehicle abandoned near the coast. Inside the trunk were clothes soaked in seawater and a badge snapped clean in half. It looked like an ending. It wasn't. A forensic sweep of the burner phone revealed one final outgoing call made an hour after Hale's death, to a number traced back to a private legal firm specializing in correctional defense. The same firm had quietly represented the prison in multiple sealed misconduct settlements. Then came the twist no one expected. An internal audit revealed Hale had been approved for a transfer out of San Quentin, effective the morning after he died. The paperwork had been signed weeks earlier. Hale hadn't been killed to stop him from talking. He'd been killed because he was about to leave. Late that night, an anonymous envelope arrived at the district attorney's office. Inside was a flash drive labeled with one word, "Tonight." The footage on it showed the missing 7 seconds outside Hale's cell. And what stepped into frame wasn't an inmate. It was someone with keys. The footage was grainy, silent, and devastating. At 2:17 a.m., Officer Daniel Rourke stepped into frame, keys already in hand. He didn't rush. He didn't hesitate. He opened Marcus Hale's cell like it was routine. The door closed behind him. 7 seconds later, it opened again. Rourke walked out alone, adjusting his gloves. Hale never moved again. The medical examiner's revised report confirmed what the video suggested. Hale hadn't been stabbed or beaten. He'd been suffocated, precisely, professionally. No marks. No struggle. A death designed to look natural inside a place where natural death is common. The district attorney moved fast. Warrants were issued. Subpoenas followed. The private legal firm went silent overnight, its partners suddenly unavailable, records locked behind privilege claims. But one junior attorney cracked. Under pressure, he admitted the truth. Rourke wasn't a rogue guard. He was a fixer. When inmates got close to exposing lawsuits, misconduct, or patterns that could trigger federal oversight, names were passed quietly. Transfers were delayed. Lockdowns adjusted. And in rare cases, problems were permanently removed. Hale had discovered the system by accident while working a prison clerical job. When his transfer was approved, it became clear he couldn't be controlled anymore. Rourke hadn't panicked. He'd acted. 3 days later, Rourke was found in a remote motel outside Sacramento. Alive. Calm. Waiting. He didn't resist arrest. During interrogation, he said very little, only one sentence that chilled everyone in the room. "I kept the place from burning down." The trial never happened. Before proceedings could begin, Rourke accepted a plea deal sealed from public view. No testimony. No names. No explanations. The case was closed under the language of institutional stability. Inside San Quentin, life returned to routine. The yard reopened. Cells unlocked. New inmates arrived who had never heard Marcus Hale's name. But the old ones remembered. They knew the truth now, not just about gangs or violence, but about the real power inside those walls. San Quentin didn't kill Hale because he broke a rule. It killed him because he learned who really made them. Years later, a guard would find a message scratched deep into the metal beneath Hale's old bunk. Words carved slowly, carefully, by someone who understood the cost of knowing too much. Survival isn't silence. It's timing. And if you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe, because some places don't forgive mistakes, and some truths never stay buried.